I'm second. All right. See, that's why there's even a couple of things that are doing on the minutes.
That's what I said. I said you did a great job.
Where do our seats, please? Rise for each. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we ask you to look over us tonight and help us in our decision making and guide us to take the right path and watch over our citizens. Amen. Yes, sir. Bill Fowler. Here. Carol Youngblood. Here. Warren Bourne. Here. Kevin Collier. Here. Dustin Collins. Here. Everybody's present. I would entertain a motion about the bank reconciliation and voucher claims packet.
Make a motion that we approve the bank reconciliation packet as presented. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Do we get it? Yep, now we'll do this. Okay, I'll entertain a motion about the minutes from last meeting.
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes.
And that will also, I'm sorry, and that will also include the minutes from the special meeting, February 20th.
Make a motion to accept both sets of minutes as presented.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, now we'll move on to opening the public hearing on the consideration of the resolution confirming the designation of an economic revitalization area and approving the deduction from assessed value of real estate property and improvements. Basically, we're talking about the abatements that can be offered on new construction of new businesses. This is a program that's kind of like planting a tree. Most of us up here will not feel a lot of benefit from it, but eventually our children will and our grandchildren. This is going to put money back into the town so that we can take care of not only advancing our facilities that we have here in town, but taking care of what we already have. As the council is well aware, we have a definite need for a stronger budget. We struggle to just take care of our basic needs, and this will aid quite a bit in that. Dan, would you like to read into what we need there, or do we just want to go straight to Alan to tell us?
We're talking about the resolution on
On the resolution.
tax abatement.
While he's getting the signatures ready, I'll just add one thing, so that everything you said was perfectly correct. So this also, we had a declaratory resolution at your last meeting. This also approves the abatement for GDI and the abatement schedule. This was notice for a public hearing. The notice was sent out to the underlying taxing units, and the confirmatory after the public hearing will be up for consideration. It approves the same schedule. There's no other changes, but will be the final action in the process. So what you want with the public hearing.
And did we have anyone sign in to speak?
No.
Anyone on the council want to speak? Good. And I will entertain a motion. We have a motion to close the public hearing in a second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Are we voting on?
Close the meeting.
Okay.
All right.
I move that we
Approve the resolution as presented. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Lauren? Nay.
And I'm against as well, then.
We have a 3 and a 2. So carries. Okay, we're going on now to the old business of the 3942 corridor vision plan. And I believe we have someone here to speak to that from HWC.
This is the best setup to try to work with this. The packet you have before you, I guess before that, members of the council, thank you for your time this evening. My name is Kyle Leakin. I'm a landscape architect and planner with HWC Engineering. Been involved with the town going back a couple of years, helping with the comprehensive plan, helping with the UDO ordinance update. Back in the fall, town reached out also to help look and provide a little more guidance or direction onto what possibilities may happen on State Road 39 or State Road 42 for a little vision plan, small effort, just a couple meetings and some exhibits to really be used as a communication tool for future developers or future developments along the corridor or with NDOT. So I have tonight to kind of just walking through what that process is, the purpose of it, and how best that can be used by the town going forward. I believe packet you have should be the same that was out here. To show both council and public. So the purpose for it, as I going back, is identify the comprehensive plan and just going back in conversations with the community that State Road 3942 are key critical corridors through Monrovia and also gateways, but they are state owned, which greatly limits the ability of Monrovia to directly influence or to directly impact design or use of those roadways. These are state-owned routes. The UDO cannot address comprehensive plan that identified these as key corridors and serve as a communication tool with NDOT and future builders and developers along these routes, State Road 39 and 42, illustrates some of those potential desired roadway sections and what components may be part of that, and be used so as developments do occur to know what space should be left, what preferred minimum right-of-way should be considered as part of any development, so that development doesn't occur up to a narrow right-of-way and then funding becomes available or the ability to do something to improve these roadways happens in the future. They're constrained because development is too close to the roadway to do what you want to see. It also just went through and provided a little more detailed information regarding existing conditions of the corridors and future intent for that design. As we started looking at what existing development occurs, also was just on the agenda before, which is development and looking at that industrial development on the northeast side of town, land homes and additional housing, potentials. The east side of 39 is still with the town. They continue to build out homestead, school campus, and other residential development southwest of town. Those are all known things that were in the works of feed directly onto these corridors. Not to mention just the use of the corridors themselves. Significant portions of State Road 39 and 42 are currently built up. Extension kind of start at Rotary Lane and south into town. As you look at Old Monrovia, the downtown part of Monrovia, certainly built up. So it's not one size fits all approach when we look at these corridors. There's much more near-term development pressure on the north section of State Road 39. Certainly, as development comes off 60, rather, that near-term on the north end. Also, as we started looking at the counts, looking at the segments, or the portions of this, it became clear to us there were kind of 5 different segments that we were looking at on these routes. State Road 39 had 2 main segments. Segment 1 really north of Rotary Lane at the elevated road. Segment 2 south of Rotary Lane down to the State Road 42 intersection. Then a section kind of centered around that where the end of the road right by the school campus is east, and the heading towards Baltimore Road is kind of your downtown segment. And then you've got kind of bookends on State Road 42 on the east end of town and on the west end of town. As we looked at those segments, we looked at the traffic counts through those, both current and some historical, just to see what that change was. As we looked at segment 1, the 2022 annual average daily NDOT traffic counts were about 8,400, which was up 17% from 2015. Segment 2, in that section south of Rotary Lane, was similar, about 8,267. Those counts are up 26% from 2015. Segment 3, more of 42 in that downtown, was lower count at 5,847, up a small amount, about 10%. And then segment 4, the segment running to the west of town, sorry, segment 4 is your downtown piece, that was 5,847, also up 10%. And lastly, segment 5, heading east out of town, was the lowest volume with 3,585, up about 10% from 2015. So we have seen an increase on those roads. Again, the highest increase being on those northern sections of State Road 39, which again correlates to that near-term development pressure, and just the bulk of development that has occurred on 39, both residential developments and commercial developments. So as we look at those existing character zones, those kind of 5 segments of helping come to what could be some recommended sections, existing right-of-way varied by those as well. So in your packet, you kind of have each section we broke down, at least by GIS data. We did not do any topographic survey or that level of detail that you might see if you actually start into a design plan. But look at GIS data and understanding where utility lines were and what the existing right-of-way was. Within that segment, of Rotary Lane, that existing right-of-way varies from 50 to 99 feet. Segment 2 varies from 67 to 94 feet. So that's the segment south of Rotary Lane into the main intersection. Segment 3, just west of town, is more narrow, 50 to 52 feet. Segment 4, your kind of downtown section and heading east, is 50 to 90 feet. And segment 5, heading east out of town, is 40 to 180 feet. 180 feet kind of I do have, this report will be, this kind of takes those exhibits. I've got a 24-page PowerPoint report that will be for your use that takes these larger exhibits and breaks them down. But each of those segments then, based on that traffic count, based on that base of use, and based on those right-of-ways, we started developing what could be a preferred or typical section for that segment. As part of this, we also evaluated several different case studies coming around the region, looking at both two-lane roadways, two-lane center turn lane, and four-lane roadways, what their corresponding average annual daily traffic, that traffic volume was, and those that included trails. Because going back to the comp plan, comprehensive plan, trails and that connectivity have been a critical part, and that certainly is what was reflected in this as well. So that character zone 1, kind of preferred typical section would be a two-lane with center turn lane or median. So that's that segment coming south of Pelican Road towards Rotary Lane. You've got more of the right way. It still serves kind of that northern gateway. So an opportunity to use that median and that space to provide some more of those kind of gateway elements in that entry into town. Because of the location of the utility poles, we looked at a multi-use trail on just one side of the road there that would fit within the recommended right of way and the sidewalk connection on the other side. As we get further south of Rotary Lane, that section narrows a little bit, and we lose the recommended center median and just goes to a two-lane roadway. Still with the trail on one side of the road, actually on both sides of the road here, because the power poles are staged such, they can start to pick up a multi-use trail on both sides of the road south of Rotary Lane. Moving into segment 3, you're downtown. This is a similar section. Sorry, not in downtown, west of downtown. Mixing that up. So that area which is west of town. Again, two-lane road section. Because of the development of rules on the north side of Main Street in that location, and undeveloped land to the south. Look at that multi-use trail recommendation on the south side of the road with the sidewalk connection on the north side. And recommended right-of-way of these. I go back to segment 1 where that center turn lane was 98 feet. So that recommended right-of-way to include that sidewalk, multi-use trail, some buffer strips, and that roadway with their existing right-of-way that's basically 99 feet. Segment 2 drops down to 60 feet with that existing right-of-way of 67 and 94. Segment 3 is 56 feet of recommended right-of-way, that minimum right-of-way with that existing of 50 to 52. So you are more tight there than required. Looking at right-of-way, currently undeveloped land south of that section on Main Street.
And we interrupt, but also, I mean, you're aware that the state upgrading 42. So these numbers could change depending on how they rate it.
Yes, and I think that, again, going back to the purpose of this is, as it does more projects, I'm kind of touching that, how you can use this. Segment 4 through the downtown area, it's just ending within 42 where it heads east. There's much more of the downtown section with 2 recommended drive lanes and parallel parking, and then incorporating a sidewalk with a small buffer. That recommended right-of-way through that section is 64 feet with existing between 50 and 90. These are recommended and kind of that guidance as you actually were to take on any project or coordinate with INDOT on a project for design. This is your starting point. You're going to have to respond to the realities of individual building setbacks and locations, but based on that range of existing and desired amenities, this is that recommended range. And lastly, on segment 5, as you head east side of town, very similar section, getting back to what you see on North 39 with the 2 lanes with the center turn lane or median, and the trail on the south side of the road, north side of the road, sorry, north side of the road for this section, with that 98-foot recommended right-of-way. If you look at kind of those main gateways, certainly most is happening coming from State Road 39 from the interstate. Myself, I live in Franklin, so a lot of people coming from Mooresville, like I did tonight, also coming from the east. So these 2 corridors get the opportunity kind of for those gateways and entry features. The other part of this is just kind of broadly looking at recommendations on design aesthetics. The scope to not get into designing set design standards. That really would be something that makes sense if any of these projects or segments become a project that you can work through a set of standards at that time that could then be applied to multiple future projects. But generally what you want to look at is some decorative roadway lighting, consideration of street trees and potential banner poles, which does twofold. One, it creates a calming pedestrian calming and pleasant pedestrian experience, so those trail users or sidewalk users. You've got a buffer from State Road 39 or State Road 42, and the fact of having just street trees or vertical elements create a calming effect on traffic as well. Right now, you've got a pretty wide expanse of road with the wider expanse of green open space on the side, which lends itself to just feeling about the feeling that you drive fast so that you can drive fast. When you bring in some of these other elements, it's a visual cue, psychological, that slow people down. So you're creating both a more pleasant experience on the pedestrian side and also slow people down. The opposite of not over-designing these or over-recommending these, landscaping is not proposed or anticipated beyond street trees, except for some potential small areas at key intersections. So you look at that main gateway at Keller Hill Road, at the main intersection of State Road 39 and State Road 42. In the future, at Union Church Road, streets behind your bookends and central points, have the opportunities to have a little more landscaping, a little more design elements around those key intersections. They may utilize small monument signage, district markers, artwork, those kind of subtle clues that let you know you're arriving somewhere, not just on the state route. Within that backup, we did have some images then just to give examples of what can be considered with that, with some different locations that we've been involved with, that we've seen around the state. Again, I'm in Franklin, really big like they did with big gateway towers as you come in off the interstate. North Vernon has smaller pedestal district markers. If roundabouts are ever included, there's lots of opportunity for artwork or landscape design on the street like that to the community. Conversation about intervention and the importance of that. And so a super modern light fixture may not fit what you want as that gateway aesthetic. So finding an aesthetic that fits the mold that can be repeated though through these corridors so that it's consistent is a key part of what you want to consider moving forward.
So wait, Mooresville.
Yes, yeah. I said driving in a Mooresville, you can see some of those. I mentioned we looked at several different precedents for roadways to understand what other communities have done and what those traffic volumes are on those roadways. I'm not going to walk through each one and what they were, but generally, what was, I think, striking is how big the right-of-ways were, especially if you start to get into a four-lane roadway, which as we looked, thought didn't really fit the context of what the town wants to see, and certainly what we heard as we went through the comprehensive plan process. So as we started to look at more of those two-lane with the center turn lane, understanding what those right-of-ways were, how they were accommodating trails. We looked at Brownsburg, Carmel, and Main Street, wide drive lanes, center BB off-street trails, Zionsville, Greenwood, all those communities have those roads, and those average daily traffic is slightly higher than Monrovia. They said about 8,400 at the last count. These roadways are in the 14,000 range. So when you look from 2015 to 2022, that you had a 17% increase, and you looked at other development, it's not out of the realm of possibility to be hitting these traffic volumes within another 10 years. So planning for that appropriate section to accommodate both pedestrian users and vehicular users on those roadways. The other component of this is, and this came up in the comp plan, is a comprehensive plan is access management. So improving these corridors on their own are not going to solve traffic congestion issues. So as the town continues to develop or developments continue to occur, being sure duplicative road networks, other access roads and frontage roads that complete north-south and east-west connectivity. So residents of the town can use those roadways to get around. Not everyone has to get out onto 39 or get onto 42. So building that duplication in your road network is also part of that consideration and what benefits these corridors as well. Implementation of this, again, this is a vision document. None of these are projects ready to go out the door or even start design. It's an INDOT right away. So I think one part we want to do is sit down with INDOT to let them know what you would like to see. And what that does, if INDOT, they may not be rebuilding 39 or rebuilding 42, but they may be doing a roundabout, or they may do a small structure replacement like a culvert or a bridge. By them understanding what the town would ultimately like to see, they can ensure that those developments or projects are built with that in mind. So if they do a culvert or bridge replacement, they don't make that too are too narrow. And now it's another stumbling block when an opportunity comes up to do that. Well, we didn't really want to do a trail. And so we just made it fit the road that just needed it. By making it wide, you just eliminate those stumbling blocks to make it easier for future infrastructure. The other way, not state level, this is on the local level, is being sure that as developments come on, this is communicated as well to know what that recommended right of way is, so that that space can be preserved. Some communities, I think Greenwood has done this, where as part of those developments, they actually get right of way dedicated to the town, to the city, in that case, the town. That allows the town then, if they not wherever to do something to transfer that property much more easier as to one property versus a bunch of multiple ones. It's not just the buildings themselves, it's like comes on, they look at parking lots, retention ponds, make sure all of those are set back far enough to allow for some of these recommended or desired improvements. And lastly, the big one, funding. Kevin, you alluded to this before we started. This is one that's going to take opportunities as they come along. The improvements you can do, again, through development, some of the pedestrian improvements is something that could be done as additional developments that occur along the corridor. So a section multi-use trailer could get installed as part of the development and have that right of way dedicated to the town. I think the town has taken steps to be eligible for LPA funding, which is a program through NDOT. LPA stands for Local Public Agency. There's a call for projects every year that allow communities to submit that funding request. It's an 80-20 match. The state provides 80% of that funding with a 20% local match. So there's still a local match component. It's not completely free, but it's one of the best avenues that a lot of communities implement roadway or pedestrian improvement projects through that LPA program. And then the plethora of state level programs kind of change by each administration and each year. There's been a recent push on regional programs, so continuing a relationship and coordination with Morgan County. In the past, there have been stellar communities that regions have taken advantage of. That is back in some form currently. If you've seen in the news, IEDC, Indiana Economic Development Corporation, had the READY program issued. So those are just two examples of kind of regional programs that the state sends out that communities have found the ability to leverage funds for projects similar to this through those. Those funding sources can vary and do vary by administration and by year, and just those priorities. One recommendation I have is, if Monrovia has not already, is just establishing a relationship with a grant administrator. There's a couple we've worked with across the state who can just keep informed and be abreast of all those different opportunities and help the town walk through any of those applications should they come available.
I'm sorry.
A grant administrator.
Great.
Okay. Comes out with a program for Main Street revitalization, as an example, which is on the list now. They're not offering it now, but those type of programs, they come in many different forms, and the ability to take components and improve these roadways for the pedestrian aspect or aesthetics through that. So that is the high level overview about the Word document that takes the exhibits you have and these different ones, that you can then continue to use to talk with other stakeholders or developers and educate them and let them know about what you're trying to look at on these corridors. Division, none of this is set for projects or set to go design, but starts to establish in greater detail than the comprehensive plan did what is possible or feasible within these corridors. Hope I got through it all without boring you too much. A lot of talking, but happy to answer any questions.
This is just for information. There's nothing here to vote on. This is basically a guideline of what we're hoping to see as our town advances. But it's not set in stone. Things can be changed, altered, and however our needs arise to do it. But this gives us a starting point.
And I think it helps understand what space is needed to accommodate and set the expectation. We heard this very clearly through the comprehensive plan, that a four-lane road with the median is not desired. So just as important to set this expectation, what you are looking at is what you do not want to see. So set that expectations and breaking down these segments as to what's appropriate and the different segments and how to accommodate pedestrian infrastructure within that as well.
Also remind you that this plan all came in place with the input of our citizenry in the town when they came to the meetings and voiced their opinions on this. Any questions for him?
So Kyle, I know you had said before when you all presented the proposal for this, that you all also serve as an advocate of the town to end on.
Yes.
So what's the next step to have a draft into a final that could go forward?
So I think we are complete with the document as it is, especially with this PowerPoint and the exhibits. I think the next step is with our relationships more so than I do, to organize just to sit down with the district and walk them through these desired improvements and what the town would like to see. NDOT does not have, there's not like an adoption process for this through NDOT. You're not gonna mark it down and document it, but it makes them aware that the town is thinking about these improvements and what they'd like to see. Again, the timeline to any roadway improvement through NDOT is measured in years and not months. It's a couple-year design process, then it has to be let, that's a couple-year design. It has to get on their planning books first to even start that process. So there's nothing that I've seen on their long-range transportation plan that looks at rebuilding 39 or 42 within that 5-year time frame. So there's nothing imminent, but those smaller projects are just as critical, as I said, to make sure they don't impede the ability to do some of these projects in the future by short-sighting it. So next step would be to get Joe Bell in our office would be the one I would like to reach out to NDOT and just set up a meeting to walk the NDOT through the same document as this.
Any more questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. In our business, we have considering the resolution to adopt the written fiscal plan, I have to say that carefully, for annexation of real estate. When we annexed the property earlier this year, we were supposed to have this plan in place. We thought we had voted on it, but we did in fact not. So it is now being presented to us, and I believe we have, so there we go. Someone here that can explain 45 pages to us in a few minutes.
Correct. Good evening. My name is Greg Girotas. I'm with Financial Solutions Group in Plainville, Indiana. And you may also have seen my face because I go to the gas station, I go to the restaurant, I hang out at the coffee shop every once in a while. So I'm also kind of here. I just live up 30 miles, so it's not too far from here. So good evening. So what we have done is we put together the written fiscal plan. We follow, I have testified as an expert witness on fiscal plans over many, many, many years. And there's a process which the statute says you have to look at certain items and you have to set forth all of those items. They really boils down to page 18, and it kind of pulls the revenues and the expenses together. We use what we call a fully allocated cost approach, which means every annexation, whether we're doing, we almost do one monthly up in Avon because they're growing so fast. In Westfield, we were doing five a month almost. And so there's a approach that you have to take and you have to set forth according to the statute. And then this is also a document when you go to prepare your 25 budget and 26 budget that the LGF will want to see. We'll want to be able to match up the growth in AV with the growth in expenses and keep that matched up as you go through a very lengthy process of looking at the final impact of annexation. And so this is step number one, having your written fiscal plan, setting forth the different parcels and the parcel impact. That's what takes up several pages. You showed the before and after. And I think the important it's pretty immaterial. You've got a 10-cent tax rate. We're talking 10 pennies. out of the total $1.78 or dollar, it's back in there. I mean, you've got a very, very minimal tax rate, $1.62 non-annexed, $1.72 annexed. And remember, this is the commercial area and kind of what we're looking at. So your 10 pennies will be fairly immaterial to this area, but it's very material to your entire budget planning process. And as you know, we've been, Kevin, when we met with you, we were talking about quite heavily looking at not kind of like your roads. Don't look just today, but look 3 to 5 years down the road, because we're very used to growing communities. And so that's what's before you, and a lot of people like to go to page 18. When I do this up in Cromwell, Indiana, council's like, what page, what does page 18 check? Well, overall, it's a benefit if we get the projected 50 million of AV growth based upon an allocated incremental cost approach. Okay, and that's what we take. Again, every annexation, whether it's a 1 acre or 80 acres, it incrementally adds to the police protection and different services. And that's the approach we take in this document. So that's a brief summary. If you'd like me to go page by page for 44 pages, I can.
I have a comment already. I got page 14, I missed part of stuff. I missed part of stuff on 15. Really trying to figure out what was missing on 17 as well too.
That-
As well, I'm missing a lot of.
That might be your copy
I don't think it's missing, I think it's just,
on the back.
that's just all there is, right?
Oh, okay. I think it's because,
No, but I just go up the third year and then it stops. It's like,
So this is page 14. So,
Oh, I see, yeah, part of this is like.
yeah, so it's your, some of them are landscape and some of them are portrait.
Right.
So, but this is, so there's page 14.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, should have been on this game.
yeah, you can't always make them portrait because then some people can't read it. It gets too small. So. But did you email them copy, Danny?
I don't know if they reported via email, but we can, definitely.
And is this your final resolution?
Well, it can be either way, right?
Right. If the council votes to waive the second.
And so I apologize, I didn't make the copies.
But this is a resolution we are required to have, correct?
Absolutely.
Right.
And the numbers are estimates at this point in time.
Right.
As you know, the real numbers will be as the area develops.
Right.
Yes, but we want to set forth.
The numbers we have on this paper is maybe numbers.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's an estimate. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will consider a motion to waive the second reading and accept as presented.
Correct, as long as it's unanimous to waive the second.
I move that we accept as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions before we vote? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Nay. Okay, we'll have a second reading then scheduled for next month.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to new business. The next one, we're considering an ordinance to designate a purchasing agent and agency and purchasing agent, as we discussed in the March 23rd meeting, and the purchasing agent's threshold would be $10,000. And the council would then have to be notified and approve of anything over 10,000 to 50,000. And let's see, we'd have to quote, we'd have to send out quotes for anything 50 to 150. And then competitive bidding over 150.
And that's also allowed in the attached ordinance and all those, Indiana code of laws.
Do we have anybody or any?
I believe our town manager would be the purchasing agent.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Correct. The town attorney has reviewed the draft and approved it as written, or at least concurs.
So that's based on everything we've done all these years.
I'm sorry.
This is basically what we've been doing all these years.
No, it's not, because this is what our town manager, and let's say, an emergency come up, something that needs repair, something that needs attention now. Our town manager can go ahead and make the decision to take care of it up to $10,000. And if the way we have it set up right now, we need to wait till the next council meeting. For us to vote on. We have to repair the roof, we have to bring that, approve all those things. Up to 10,000.
I still think that the purchasing agent should be someone who is sitting in the office, that's what either should be the president of the council or that council. I don't think the purchasing agent should be someone who is not, doesn't hold that close. I have still saying, but I still agree with that.
So other towns, it's all the town manager is a purchasing.
Which is why we hire a town manager, in my opinion. So, entertain a motion to set up this ordinance as presented.
Does this include services as well as, what are our parameters for what the purchases between them cost? Are we talking services, things that have contracts? Does it exclude things that we have a contract? Is that
I
specified?
think contracts are voted on by the town
Well,
council.
I would agree, but I just want to make sure. Things like that.
This is just for purchases, right? Not contracts or, right?
So when we say purchases, are we talking purchases of services?
Services, supplies,
We define
these services.
what are some of the examples of services that we would, I'm curious so that there's no, I know that after the fact.
There's a quote further down here, and I was went for, where you got to get the facts out of the top for here. That's a service.
Maybe, again, some of those all contracts, I suppose, but, trying to think some of the things we have had, just, approvals for in the past that this might not require. Our engineering and things like that are contracts,
If it was a contract, it still did not exceed 10,000.
right? I'm just trying to figure out what services as we talk about this. Insurance, how does that play into it?
That's a good
Well,
point.
insurance is 20,000 plus for the town.
So,
We have further down here also a quote based on the property projected to be donated to the town, where they require basically the Banning Engineering conduct an engineer survey of the property. That's like $4,000. That would be a service.
okay, I just kind of wanted to have were talking about, so that, again, on any,
But again, if we couldn't enter into any contract that could possibly be over that amount,
right,
then that wouldn't be. My computer goes down.
Yeah, I think so. That should be another good one, right? Yeah. Make a motion that we approve the ordinance as presented.
I'll make a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. Officer Rush, is that on this next one part here, the JAG?
He doesn't have a sheet that you all have.
Okay. All right, basically, the police department was just awarded a sum of money of $12,675 for Justice Assistance Grant. The fund is required to be expended on portable breathalyzer test units, handheld radar units, roadside drug analyzers. It has been discovered, though, that this is a reimbursement grant. In other words, we spend the money, they'll pay us back. So that's not a problem, other than we need to either allocate the money from a different fund and move it into there, or there was the donation fund, correct?
What we can do is there's two options.
Right.
Is complete the additional appropriation process, because we would need to appropriate an additional 12,000, 13,000 to round it up.
Right.
There's $40,000 still in the public safety fund, which would support that to cover the cost. We'd have to go through additional appropriation, public hearing, and that process. Or option two, there's 10,647 in the Central Indiana Police Donation Fund. That's for equipment purchases. There's 3,000 that the council appropriated this year in the LECE fund for operating supplies, which can be for equipment. So the simpler solution, in my mind anyway, would be to do that, and then the equipment purchases can be made. Marshall can purchase those right now. Once reimbursed, then that money would go right back into the police donation fund.
Then there's no reallocation process.
There's no additional appropriation or like that.
So these purchases that have already been made, then that's on the chart behind it.
No, they'd be reimbursed if
It's not been paid. Okay, we have the money to pay for it.
Okay, well, I'm just saying there's dates on here, and I just wondered.
It's not purchased. Yeah, yeah, purchase it. It's not allocated to purchase anything.
What we're saying is that we approve option number two, this will go ahead, this is what the plan use is for.
So the only caveat I have to this is, so the money from the Central Police Foundation, I have to go get a check. That money, I don't, last time we got a check from them, we had to additionally appropriate it, because you got to deposit it, so they can go and approve it, that it can be deposited directly into my fund, or the public safety fund, so that it can be spent. Because last time we got money from them for the vests,
but it was put into the public safety fund, and we still have to go through the additional appropriation process to be able to spend it.
what fund does it need to go into? It has to come into a fund, because for it to be reimbursed, it has to come out of our account.
Yeah, I thought we could expend it from them, so we can't expend it from.
No, that has to show that we have to show that we spent it.
But to show that we spent it.
No, because they would write the check.
So those ones have, so we'll need to do the additional appropriation process.
Okay.
We have time limit on this. Just for the hearing and take council meeting.
We have a public hearing in May, and then for appropriation, you got it, because it's all through deals, you have to have that for 2 weeks. So June is when it would be approved, final by the council. If we get started on that, does that still work? Won't you? Think we can talk about that briefly.
It has to work.
Yeah, I mean, if the money from them can't be purchased, going to the donation fund we spent, then it has to be appropriated. I mean, we have to show that we spent the money on our account. We get to reimburse it back to our account.
I mean, that's a good point, but I mean, we definitely have in the economic development fund, we have, I think, 40 to 50,000.
And this grant is, there's no fine
We're
print,
going to get reimbursed for the back end.
there's no fine print or anything where we will not get
No, it's sitting there waiting, and he's like, as soon as you can show receipts that it's paid for, we submit it in.
Will that, will let us any fine using it that way? Okay, we move on to finding a bat in a building. We actually finally got it official, we have bats in our building. So,
We had that on the last year, a little while after we moved in here, and then back down in the police department area. So we had the bat removed about a month or so ago, and then asked Splunk's Pest Control to just do an inspection on the whole building. And they did find areas of ingress egress, from bats. And so they presented this quote. I'd like to get a second quote. This one's for $37.45, basically CLF, redo the screening and all where the bell tower is, which is, there's like massive evidence of bats on that screen and all around there. The way the bats went up in the attic looking, but you can tell there's definitely.
so if we want to get a second quote, then this is just pretty much for information at this point.
Right. And then just the councilman know then with the passing of the biggest ordinance, get a second quote, but I mean, I think we need to move on getting this thing shored up before there's a lot of bats in this building.
Correct.
Matt's just trying to become Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
That's what I was about to say.
Batman. So basically, we're going to table this till next month. And regardless, we're looking for a second quote. Yeah, those companies. Yeah, there's all about this weird stuff.
Well, the plan is what he would do is he'd install something in several locations where the bats can get out and can't come back. So I don't know if that's classified as removing him, but it's basically they fly out on their own and back.
I'm sure that the critter control companies will know the rules on it.
It says Sunday, we can defer to the game to the second quote rather than.
No, because we just didn't approve that yet. Correct.
We did approve.
We did.
We did approve.
I thought we had to do it.
No, that was the one before that.
Okay, so yeah, Danny said, you're right. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, second reading. Yeah, excuse me. Okay. Next up, we have, on new business, we have consideration to remove the Precision Data escrow account. Due to no activity, we've had money just sitting there, nothing happening. And I think the bank wants to close